Boker Tov. Good morning on this glorious Thursday morning, Yom HaChamishi, Yom HaShabbat. Just came from services at Shul. We had a nice minyan. But earlier this morning at 5:30, Gurney and I both came to camp where I'm sitting now because we had an overnight, a sleepover. There was about 60 of the older group, the Pioneer group, which is our oldest division, who arrived here at 5:30 and got onto coach buses, which took them to the Hudson Valley in Connecticut, where they were going to have an overnight at Club Getaway. A few counselors went with them, so Gurney and I came here. We greeted them, got them onto the coach buses, made sure everyone had what they needed, and were safe. And it made me think, because the second portion of this week's Torah portion is called Maaseh, which means the journeys, the sojourns. And the Torah tells us about the 42 encampments and travelings that the Jewish people took in the desert. The Baal Shem Tov tells us that every single one of us, this is a story that encapsulates our life. Every single one of us is born, and then we go on journeys throughout our life, right? The word Mitzrayim means Meitzarim, restraints, and we're journeying to leave those restraints. And every day we have a new one. And ironically, the Torah doesn't just mention the good ones. If you read the Torah portion this week, it says Kivot HaTarva, where they were lusting for meat and they complained about God. It gives you all the places, because ultimately it's all part of our journey, and it's all part of what makes us who we are. But when the Torah begins this week's Torah portion, it says Motzayim L'Masayim, their departures to their travels. But then later in the portion, it says Masayim, their travels, L'Motzayim, to their departures. And the rabbis say something so beautiful. They say that there's the departures. This is what you're born with. Every person is born with a set of genetics and DNA, how intelligent they are, what their personality is going to be, what their facial hair is going to look like, what their voice is going to sound like, how tall they'll be, how short they'll be. Those are not things that we control. That's Motzayim L'Masayim. The departures, the things that God gave us that we're born with, the gifts. Someone once said, the talents that God gave you, that's the gifts God gave you. What you make of it, what you do with it, that's the gift that you give God. But what the Torah is trying to tell us when it changes the words and says first Masayim, their travels, and then their departures, is that ultimately it's within the power of each one of us to make the best and to change the things we have to become better human beings. Someone says, it's not fear, I'm not that smart. Someone says, it's not fear, I'm not tall enough. I wish I had this color eyes or that color eyes. But ultimately, what the Torah is trying to tell us is, Eile Masayim L'Motzayim, your travels could impact your departures. What you do is within your power. And the Tanya speaks about this at length. It gives us the idea about what's Teva Sheni, to make a second nature. That ultimately, yes, you're born with a certain set of DNA and genetics, but you could push yourself and create circumstances that allow you to be better, that allow you to do the best with what you have. And ultimately, that's what parents want of their kids, and that's what we want of ourselves. To take that departure, to take that DNA, that set that God gave it to us, and to make a journey with it, that the journey will impact that DNA. And ultimately, that's the message of this week's Torah portion. You know, today's my dad's birthday. He turned 83. May he live and have a healthy, long life. And I think about his life. He was born in Jerusalem in 1940 at the young age of 8 years old. As many of you have heard from me, he was almost 8. His mother was killed in front of his eyes by Jordanian terrorists. And they were left orphans, 12 siblings with a father. And you think about the set of circumstances they were given in their life. And then you think about what they did with it. And I look at my own family, I look at my dad, he has Kanai Nahara, 8 children, and he has nearly 40 grandchildren, and he has great-grandchildren. And he nurtured and educated us in a way to love Judaism, to care and have moral and kind values, to be happy, to be connected to our Judaism. So there was the Motzayim, the departures, what God gave him. He couldn't control that. But then there was the Masayim, the travels they took with that. And their Masayim impacted the Motzayim, the DNA they had, the circumstances they were born into. And I think about his whole family. You know, next month we're going to Israel. My dad's one of 12. And many of his siblings are older than them. I have over 100 first cousins. And they have children and grandchildren. And some of them have great-grandchildren. When I went to Israel last year, we got together with just some of my first cousins, and there was 150 people with them and their children. Not all of them were able to come. Some of them are scholars, some of them are rabbis, some of them are paratroopers in the army, some of them are high-tech people, some of them are agriculture people. But that's the story of life. Eilem masehem lemotzehem. Yes, the departures come first. The DNA you get, that's what God gives you. But the travels come afterwards. But when you work hard and you don't become a victim of your circumstances, you impact the Masayim, impact the Motzayim, impact the departures. And then at the end of this week's Torah portion, we get up and we say, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. May we be strong, may we get stronger, and may we continue to thrive in being good, proud Jews who love our homeland Israel and who share our values and morals with the world around us, being a beacon of light, Atam Tiyu Li Mamleches Koyin and Begoy Kodesh, being a light upon the nations. And I wish my father a happy birthday, and may it be Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek for him. May he live and be healthy and continue to thrive, and may he be blessed this year together with my mother to long life, to dance at many of their grandchildren's weddings, and to be blessed with more great grandchildren and happiness and health. Have yourself an awesome day.